Can you hear me? Is anybody there? Hello, Rafael. How are you? Tanya, that's great from Edeshin here, near 5 hours. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Hope everybody's fine and safe, right? Yes, it's great to see you all here. I'm very happy. Hello. São Paulo, Santa Catarina. Ecuador. Welcome, Panama. That's great. Brasília. Curitiba, Bahia. Ecuador again. That's amazing. Guatemala, that's great. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, right? It's great to have you all here. Amazing. Minas Gerais, São Paulo, Pará, Rio de Janeiro. Thank you for coming here. I'm very happy. So how's everybody? How's everybody doing with classes, with education in general, right? It's not being easy for any one of us, right? For any of us, right? I understand, but right, we cannot give up on education, right? Let's keep going, right? Yeah, online classes only. Right? I read some online teaching. Never give up. That's it. Right? Well, welcome you all here, right? It's great to have you all here, right? We are here today to see a little bit how the pedagogy of multiliteracies can work for us English teachers, right? I have to be honest with you, right? I'm no expert in multiliteracies, right? I am a good student. I read a lot, right? And I'm here to scratch the surface of what multiliteracies is, right? The pedagogy, and also to share some thoughts, right? Some thoughts. Since I started studying multiliteracies, some ideas that I've had, right? Also, we can't go very deep on the subject because, well, we have 1 hour, right, only. So that's it, right? I'm going to just give an overlook, right? I'm going to talk a little bit of what it is, how it was thought first, and now how it is now, and some insights, some ideas that I've had to work with this pedagogy in English classes. All right. Yeah, can I see some okays over there in the chat? Yes. All right, people. That's great. That's great. So here we are, right? Oh yes, sorry, I totally forgot the housekeeping. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, the certificates are going to be provided by Giselle, right? After this webinar, right? They have your names, they have your emails. They're going to get in touch with you, right? This webinar is being recorded, right? And is going to be on Facebook, Giselle Facebook page, and also later on YouTube, also on Giselle channel. All right. So don't worry if you miss something, right? It's being recorded and it's going to be available right after on Facebook. It also is being broadcast on Facebook. So if you wish, if you have any problems with the platform, you can go there and watch, right? Okay, well, so I organized this this talk in 3 moments, right? I'm going to firstly give you a quick overview of how it was born, right? The idea of multiliteracies was born, right? Then, as I told you, we'll rub the surface of the pedagogy of multiliteracies and its elements, okay? And finally, I'm going to develop an idea on how to apply it in an English language classroom, right? Using a piece of very well-known children literature, right? I'm going to review only later on, okay? And I'll mention some other ideas I've had, as I told you, since I started thinking about multiliteracies, okay? All right. So let me start by giving you an idea of how it all began, right? So basically, since the 80s, right? Let's go back to the 80s. Since the 80s, there have been new modes of communication, brand new modes of communication, right? Aline is telling that you can't hear very well. Is it okay? Is it the sound okay for everybody? Yeah, okay. Right. So maybe the internet connection, Aline, right? So new modes of communication, right? New communication channels and technology, such as internet. There are all the multimedia, right? Since the 80s, digital media, etc. Right? Also, we could see growing linguistic and cultural diversity, much because of the transnational migration and people going here and there to live, to work, to study, right? Also, the interest in other languages has grown, right? Anyway, and also the digitality that we have nowadays promotes transformations in our professional, social, and academic life, right? Well, in 1994, a group of 10 academics met in New London, US, right, and was named because of the place where they met. They were called the New London Group, right? And they proposed the replacement of this existing monolingual, monocultural, standardized literacy pedagogy, right? Reading and writing, yeah. And they proposed something that would encompass different modes, right? That would encompass different languages, right? Multiculturality, right? And would also encompass diversity and different varieties of language, yeah? Well, in order to fully develop an individual in their ideas, in this New London group idea, is this postmodern world, right? Many people now start talking, calling this society where we are living in now as a society 5.0, right? With the insertion of big data, the Internet of Things, and all the new tech, right? We have to free ourselves from the idea that reading and writing is enough, right, in terms of literacy. They say that we must give learners opportunities to experiment the construction of knowledge, right? The construction of meaning through different modes. And these modes are linguistic, of course, right? Words, speech, text, but also audio, sound, silence, music, right? Spatial, and then here we're talking about placement, buildings, landscapes, locations, ecosystems, yeah? Also gestural in terms of movement, tactile, touch, feel, object interaction, and visual through pictures, through video, color, perspective, even shapes, right? Each of these modes, they propose that if we insert these modes into learning, right? We give our students a wide range of different meaning-making processes, right? And if we make use of these different modes to build meaning and help our students understand the world better, their chance of success in various paths they choose in life becomes greater, right? The use of different modes to achieve literacy in different fields is called multi-modality. Right. Just to exemplify, okay, I brought here a picture of a weather forecast service in UK, right? Of course, I chose the city of Cambridge, right? Here, an individual needs to have a certain degree of literacy in different items that goes much beyond the names of seasons or the names of the days of the week, for example, to read this picture, right? And I'd like you to write on the chat what sort of what kinds of literacy, what kinds of knowledge does a learner need, or any individual need, in order to read this whole picture. You can write visual, somebody says, Margaretti, thank you, visual. Icons, right? Symbols, right? Clouds, visual, tactile, temperature, graph reading, time, numbers, weather, numbers. That's it. Basically, this is it. We need a wide range of pieces of knowledge in order to make sense of this. Genre, infographics, yes. Here I selected some of the pieces of knowledge we need. So we need to know where Cambridge is, for example, right? So a bit of geography wouldn't be nice, of course, right? Weather, symbols, temperature, days of the week, time, percentage, right? Wind, speed, and there you go. Right? Just an example, a quick example. So this is a quick example of how nowadays we need to equip our students with different kinds of knowledge. Right? Well, all right. So let me start by giving you an idea of how it could work, right? How do we use this variety of modes to increase our students' different levels of literacy? Well, according to Koch and Calancis, two of those 10 academics of the New London group, they define what pedagogy of multiliteracies would be. Right? So they say, the pedagogy of multiliteracies aims to develop the capacity of agency in the construction of meaning with sensitivity to differences, changes, and innovations, which makes it a more productive, relevant, innovative, creative, and capable of transforming life pedagogy. Right? So this is the idea. And here I underlined two parts of this concept. The concept of agency. What is agency? Agency means that they want our learners, they want to give tools for our learners to become agents of their own learning. It's a word that is highly in fashion nowadays, right? In the terms of education, right? The idea that the learner have to build their own knowledge almost completely autonomously, right? With the being the role of teacher more like a helper. Yeah, there you go, Paulo Freire, right? A helper, a guide, right? And also, I highlighted this with sensitivity to differences, changes, and innovations, right? We have come to an age in which, Bandura, there you go. We have come to an age where we need to, it is essential to understand that people are different, right? And that people have different ways, different modes, different ideas, different thoughts, different perspectives, and that sometimes a same person presents different ways of thinking, different ways of behaving throughout the whole life, right? So these are changes, not only personally, but changes in the world, right? Changes in education, changes in technology, right? So we need to understand that the world is very, presents a kind of a certain flexibility that we didn't have like more 20 or 25 years ago, right? Anyway, so here you go, continuing. So the pedagogy of multiliteracies, in summary, reflects the social world, right? The cultural linguistic aspects, okay? The technological advancements, right? Multimodal ways of learning. All this in order to create meaning and develop critical and creative thinkers, right? Moving on. So basically, this is the first scheme, right, created there by the New London Group, right? They thought the multiliteracies in 4 components, right? Starting with situated practice. In this component, students are, and I'm going to read because maybe you can't because it's very small, right? Students are immersed in the experience of the text in discourses, weaving the unfamiliar with the familiar, learning with real life experiences. So the idea here is to bring some real world, right, to the classroom, right? Something that the students already know, right? And little by little start putting this together with something that is unfamiliar, right? Something that they could experiment for real, that they know, something that they already know from their experience, and some new experience, right? Then overt instruction would be, it means that students are systematic, analytical, and conscious about the form of the text making meaning. Use of multiliteracies meta-language. So here it's like this: the students try to make sense of what they have been presented, right, by the teacher, with the knowledge they have, and they start making sense by putting names on it, by adding some concepts that maybe the teacher can bring, right? Then we go to critical framing. Students interpret social and cultural contexts that create meanings in the text. Students view a text critically in relation to its context. So that's it. They try to see what is outside that reflects in this object of study, right? What cultural, I would say, what cultural aspects can it bring, right? What meaning does this meaning does this have for them, right? And they see this critically. They see they put their views, and they also try to understand their colleagues, the teachers' views, right? And then move to transformed practice, which is kind of reshaping the situated practice. Students transfer meaning, making to other texts or contexts. Students apply learning in creative ways. So basically this, they kind of try to put, they try to show what they have learned in a more normal or expected way, and they try to be creative, showing what they have learned in different ways. Right? Basically, this is what is when they first thought of the multiliteracies. Then, right, this is now rethinking the subject of learning in the face of this new world and technological panorama that we have nowadays. At the beginning of this millennium, some researchers from the New London Group, namely Koch and Calantis, they started in 2003 they started thinking in a new way, right? They proposed the Learning by Design project, and it was born in Australia. Right? According to these ideas, right, when trying to apply the first propositions of the pedagogy of multiliteracies, responding to how it worked so far at that moment in the world, they came up with some new insights, new ideas, right? And this caused them to reformulate the proposals, right? Basically, at this stage of the discussions there in Australia at that time, these components these four components received new names, right? And they were designated more directly as knowledge-making processes. And they were divided in experiencing, conceptualizing, analyzing, and applying. The learning by design pedagogy, right, uses 8 knowledge processes. Right? A knowledge process is an activity type which represents a different way of making knowledge and a different way of learning. Right? Teachers now, they are designers of learning environments with this idea, right? And they can choose any mix and ordering of the knowledge processes. Right? So this is not, it's not something fixed, right? It's something that they can, that we as teachers, we can mix the processes and order the way we find more suitable, right? So the purpose of indicating these knowledge processes underlying each activity is to give means for the teachers to think explicitly about the most appropriate range and sequence of learning activities for their students in any subject matter, right? Teachers use the knowledge processes as prompts to design, document, and deploy their learning progress. And we call the use of these learning these knowledge processes learning by design. So the teacher is a designer now, right? So the teacher becomes this activity learning process maker, right? Classroom plans are not only classroom plans; they are designs for learning, right? And the appropriate deployment of this range of knowledge processes is intended to increase the use of higher order thinking skills and to deepen students' learning. Right? I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these new processes proposed by the learning by design pedagogy, which is also a component, a very important nowadays component of the pedagogy of multiliteracies. First of all, experiencing. Right? Experiencing the known. This is the first of the learning of the knowledge processes, right? Involves reflecting on our own experiences, similar to what situated practice was, right? Reflecting on our own experiences, interests, perspectives, and familiar ways of representing the world. We want the students to bring their own diversity, right, to the learning situation. It's important to value this, right? Then the new. Experiencing the new. Experiencing the new means that that now students are going to observe something unfamiliar. So they brought their what was familiar to them, their experiences, their voice to class, and now they are going to observe the unfamiliar. New knowledge here can be produced by many different activities such as listening, reading, viewing, visiting, locating, immersing, right? This is basically what is experience, which was the situated practice, the old situated practice. Then the second knowledge process is conceptualizing. Conceptualizing involves identifying or naming the object of study by through actually glossaries, right, or lists, or labeling, sorting them, categorizing them, right? And when students conceptualize also, they theorize by working on concept maps, for example, discussing cause and effect, comparing, contrasting, making decisions, summarizing. So this process that we are familiar also, right, the process. So they pick this new element and they conceptualize and they theorize on it, basically. I know this sounds very, I don't know how to say, it's not very practical, but you'll see the practice in a bit, right? promise. The third knowledge process is analyzing, right? So analyzing occurs both functionally and critically. When students analyze functionally, they explore cause and effect, develop change, reasoning, and explain patterns in text. And this text, when I'm talking about text, I'm not talking about only about written text, right? I'm talking about text. It can be a film, can be an image, can be painting, anything, right? So analyzing them critically involves the evaluation of your own and other people's perspectives, right? Motives, interests, right? Points of view. Critical analysis is a deeper level that can include debating, predicting, reviewing, right? Identifying stereotypes, yeah? Exploring human interest and motivation, right? It has a lot of Bloom's taxonomy, I agree with you, right? Yeah, then we move on to the last, which is applying, right? Finally, checking understanding through applying appropriately and creatively, it needs to be done, right? In a way, because it's the summit of all the learning process here, right? Students, they can apply appropriately their knowledge and understanding, firstly to the real world and test their validity, right? Something that they are used to doing, right? And you see in the example better, right? And they also must to be able to innovate and create, because this is the development of creative thinking, right? Developing new texts, new means for a specific audience, maybe, right? With a different setting, probably, right? Using appropriate technology, contextual language, other modes that they might bring, no problem, right? It's important to mention that the use of technology is not mandatory, right? It's the technology here is other means for showing understanding and for them to learn, right? Let's move on. And what about the role of the teacher in all this process, right? We talked a little. I talked a little bit about this, and I'm going to just summarize, right? The teacher here is a designer of the learning process, right? He designs. He's the architect, and the teacher here is attentive and open to innovation that provide new ways of reading and production of meaning across multiple languages and modes, right? It is not forbidden to use other languages in the English class, right? It's not forbidden because usually different languages can bring different cultures, and different cultures different cultures are desirable in an English classroom, right? At the light of the pedagogy of multiliteracies, right? The teacher here gives autonomy, right? Gives students the power to go after knowledge, right? The teacher here interacts online with students and exchanges experiences, right? And the teacher here is first and foremost a researcher, right? I know that we are by nature very curious, right? Very curious. So this problem of being a researcher, being that person that goes online to check new tech and to check new activities and ideas, we do this because it's in our nature, right? Then also the role of learner. It's important to define the role of learner in this new pedagogy, right? The learner here, as I said before, is the agent of the learning in the learning process. He is the actor, right? They belong to generation P of participative, right? They act as characters in games, video games. They create playlists online, right? They create playlists also of videos. They write on social media. They produce these videos, right? Namely TikTok and and so forth, right? They are engaged, they are committed to the educational process. They bring their interests, their experiences and voice to class. And they extend learning outside the classroom, and they are, by nature, collaborative and critical, or they become along the process, right? Right, okay. Forgot my water. If I'm doing this, it's because, you know better than me, actually, right? So, as I said before, here, I'm just scratching the surface of Pedagogy of Multiliteracies, right? If you wish to know more, right, I can certainly recommend reading about it, right? Look for learning by design as well, right? And specifically read the work of Cope and Calensis, their ideas, right? Yeah, I'm laughing at what Simone said here in the chat. All right, so now I'm going to show you an activity I designed using a famous book for kids under the light of the Pedagogy of Multiliteracies, right? To expand their knowledge and give them tools to go beyond the classroom, right? And look for their own answers, right? This is important, to give them tools for them to go after their own answers, right? So here we go. But before jumping into the activity or activities, because it's more than one, here I listed reasons I believe are strong enough to use this pedagogy in English classes, right? Why then using this pedagogy, in the English classroom? Well, the English classroom is a natural place for negotiation of meaning and cultural encounters, but this is what you do, right? All we do in English class is negotiation of meaning, right? And because language is something global, we cannot avoid talking about culture, right? So it's the natural place for that, yeah? Also, research shows that English as a medium of learning leads to fluency, meaning, yeah, of course that English is the objective, but if we see English much more as a means for discussing, talking, learning other subjects, right? We're surely giving them real opportunity of practice, right? Also, this pedagogy enables students to exercise agency and take ownership of their learning, as I said before, right? As we saw before. There you go, Cleo. We're going to see a little bit of it later on. Supports students' language development by providing them with authentic communicative purposes for learning and practicing language, right? We bring real things. And it helps students to reflect on and recreate their multilingual and multicultural identities, okay? And last, it increases students' engagement and promotes collaborative learning. So I think that these are good enough for us to start using it. Of course, that you're not going to use only the pedagogy of multiliteracies in your classrooms. Of course not. But it's an idea for implementing something different, right? Maybe 4 times a year. I don't know. It depends on how your curriculum works, right? So basically, this story now, yeah, I don't know if I cannot share the slides, but the recording is going to be on Facebook and also later on YouTube, right? Giselle channel. Okay, Marcela. So finally, right, the story I chose to apply multiliteracies is The Three Little Pigs, right? Can it be more classic? No, it can't, right? So The Three Little Pigs, and here this activity is for 6 to 11-year-olds, so basically primary students, right? So here I chose The Three Little Pigs, and I proposed them in a class. Teacher enter, hello, what do you think about, right? Stories, you like stories? Yeah, great. Right, which ones do you know? Do you know the one of the Three Little Pigs? Ah, yes, teacher, we know. So let's try to remember it. Then, this is the experiment, the known, right? Learners reflect on their own knowledge of the story, right? They can retell the story as a class, right? They're brainstorming, right, on the board, right? List the main events of the story, right? For them to remind of it, right? For them to remember. Then the teacher introduces another version of the story, right? And I chose one that I bought to my daughters. I have two little ones. Well, one is not that little; she's almost 11. But anyway, I chose the Three Little Wolves and the Big Bad Pig, right, by Eugene Tervisas and Helen Oxenberry. Right, and then, well, this story, I'm not going to tell you the story, but it's a twisted idea, right? It's a little bit different, okay? Well, you present the story, maybe you show slides, I don't know, right? They can, then, I'm introducing the new, right? The new. And then can then research and look for other different versions of the story. Remember, they are autonomous, yeah? Give them this time, it's important for them. Okay, then we go to conceptualizing. By naming, well, this is a sentence that I hear a lot. Naming is the first step to understanding, right? So each concept, which ideas and things are presented are presented in the stories, in all stories, are present, sorry, in all stories. Which conventions, features, definitions are present in the stories, right? The stories that they saw, they read, yeah. Then they name with their own experience, right? What it is to them. Then with theory, and then here the teacher helps because, well, sometimes teacher is important in the classroom. I'm just kidding, but the teacher brings some ideas, some theories on stories. Of course, everything adapted for young learners, right? So questions, you can ask them questions, or you can ask yourself questions, so you can adapt for them, right? Which different concepts, ideas can be linked together? How these ideas contribute to the whole of the story? What is the cause-effect relation, or the cause and effect relationship in the story, right? How does it change in one story and the other? Students can name types of stories they have found, if they have a happy or sad ending, if they are for kids and for teens. Genres, are they poetry? Are they video? Are they books? I don't know, right? Are they songs? Right? Why not? And the teacher helps them with classification, concepts, ideas, themes in the stories, because depending on the age, they're not able to do that yet, right? But if you start talking to them about this, they soon will be, right? Conventions, features, etc. Then this part, that comes the part of analyzing. And analyzing functionally by asking them, what is the house for? What does it do in the story? What's the role of the house in the story, right? What is the structure of the stories? What elements have changed from the original, right? How do they work? Right? Why are they here? Then going to critical, right? When you start asking why does the big bad wolf or the big bad pig want to enter? What does the destruction of the houses represent for the pigs, for the wolves, for the big bad wolf, for the big bad pig? What are its consequences for the wolf or wolves or pig or pigs, right? Depending on the story, or even in the stories they bring, because they are going to bring their experiences, right? Are there any environmental consequences, right, of this whole destruction of houses around? Which, right, who gains more in the stories? Who lose, right? Yeah, we can, sometimes we feel, oh, but they are kids, they're not going to know how to answer this. Believe me, they know, and they will answer in their own way, right? In their own way. Um, and you must value this, right? Then applying, the last part, right? This I follow the order, but if you don't want to use one of the knowledge processes, feel free, right? Adapt to the reality of the activity or to what it demands, okay? Then we go to applying appropriately. Learners demonstrate what they have learned in an expected way. They can retell their story. They can write it. Or then here I put two technological tools, right? Canva, which is everybody can use, right? It's easy to use. There's also Photo Story 3. I think it's from Microsoft, if I'm mistaken, which they can show it, show the way they want. They can put the characters and things like that. And finally, they show this, they apply this creatively. They demonstrate what they have learned more creatively. They can create their own version of the story, right? Well, if there can be the three little wolves and the big bad pig, why can't I create my own version, right? With different characters, different setting, conveying other messages, etc. Or it could be an environmental project, right, on how to reuse and recycle building materials since the wolf/pig is destroying everything, right? Why not? Why not? Right? And here are my ideas. I can't even start to imagine what insights you are having right now, right? Right, so here we go. And then, now, why not storytelling for teens, right? Certainly they all know the story of the three little pigs. And at first they can start saying, teacher, come on, right? Three little pigs, right? We are in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, I don't know which grade, right? But I'm sure they can enjoy the experience, right? Because they're only going to have contact with the story in the beginning, right? So step 1, brainstorming, tell the original story, with the experiencing the known, right? That first part, just like the one we did with the kids, can be done with the teenagers, right? Now step 2, show them memes created based on the original story, right? Which is the new, right? I brought 2 here that I found, right? Okay, they get in contact with this new idea. And then step 3, students and teacher discuss explicit and implicit meaning conveyed in each of the memes brought by the teacher, but they can already start looking for their own memes, right? Step 4, teacher shows theory about memes, types, ideas conveyed, and so, theorizing, right? They can even help because many teens already know a lot about memes. They can even teach us, actually, right? Step 5, students analyze structure, causes and effects, cultural, social content, etc. So analyze the idea, right, functionally. Students exchange ideas on their findings and discuss. Right? It can be a debate, right? Can be a forum, right? If you're teaching online, can be via WhatsApp. I don't know, right? Then applying, right? How are they going to apply this? Step 7. Students apply their new learning to a real-world situation and test their validity, right? They can take ideas from other memes and try to understand them, applying what they have learned. And then step 8, they apply this creatively. For example, this is an example, of course. There can be many ways of applying creatively, but I chose this one. Teacher shows students how to use a meme creator. There are many online, right? Then students choose a cultural or social or local issue and create their own memes, right? You can make a showcase of memes in the school, right? Why not? Yeah. So this is one example of how to use storytelling for teens. Okay. Well, now I start presenting other ideas that I have had, so because of time is not going to allow us much more. Other ideas I've had while I started studying multiliteracies, right? Some ideas here, creating multimodal digital texts, right? Don't ask for plain written by hand composition, right? Why can't they create their own hypertexts, right? Including links, including photos, including videos, sound in the text, right? Tell them how to do this. Show them how to do this, right? Teach them how to do this. It's very important nowadays. Also, the hidden meaning in art. Maybe the art teacher is already talking to them about something, about, I don't know, maybe art naive, right? Something like that. And you can apply to the English class, right? You can borrow some, oh, what are you talking about? What's the subject you're talking about in math, in art? Ah, this is it. Okay. Bring to English class, right? Reading and designing maps, not only concept maps, but real ones, right? How can they create how they can create a 3D map? Which concepts of topography they must know in order to design one? I don't know, right? Eating healthily, right? Planning savings for a purpose. Are there internet tools that would help them plan their savings for college, for example? Don't know. We're researchers, we have to find out. Poetry, prose, drama, differences, similarities between these modes, right? How can we work with this under the light of the pedagogy of multiliteracies? Positive role models. God knows we knew them, right? Especially in these difficult, challenging times we are living. The origin of personal names in different cultures, of words in different cultures, different local communities and their customs, different world communities and their customs, reading and creating charts, graphs, diagrams, and infographics. Did I mention language here? No, but you can, of course, right? You can bring the whole world to the English classroom. That's why our subject is so rich, right? Also, very quickly, you can use your own course books, right? Pick parts of the course book and transform into a multiliteracy activity, right? These ideas here, these two images I took from Shape It, which is our new secondary course, right? I picked specifically the culture project parts, right? This one here, the first one talks about a haiku, right? This is very nice, and it's very easy, and it's a lot of culture in terms of a very different culture, which is the Japanese one, right? Then also, infographic, I told you, right? It could be worked in this multiliteracy class, right? Right. Another idea, somebody mentioned CLIO before. Yes, take the CLIO pages of your books, of your course books, and expand them, right? Why does it need to be only one page or two? No, it can be a whole project about it using multiliteracies, right? Yeah, so here you have, just in these examples, you have history, science, I don't know which one is the one behind forces, and the forces one is physics, right? So basically, bring the world to them. Right? Well, we are getting to the end. Right? We're almost there. Right? I just wanted to read something for you. It's kind of a thought, right? We need to equip students to be producers and designers of our social future, right? They are going to design our social future, right? And it's our role, right, in all this big project to guide them, right? To guide them, to show ways, right? To show that it is okay to be different, right? To show that it is okay to have strange ideas, crazy ideas, right? Teacher, I had this crazy. How many times students come to you and say, teacher, I have this crazy idea of decorating my room, right? Yes? Well, most of all, right, people, in this century, it's not enough, remember, it's not enough for students to be able to read and write or use various technologies. We need our students to understand, comprehend, interpret, and communicate with the world around us. They need to be much more than just literate, right? They must be multiliterate. And this is what I propose here to you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming, right? For spending your time, right? And now I'm going to answer questions if you have. Let me take a look here. No, not this one. Just a second. Let me see if I have. Okay, well, there are some questions here. Well, hello, my friend Alexandre, my xará, right? Right, let me see. Questions related to the subject, right? This one here from Maria do Carmo. What do you think about the emphasis on learning by projects, problems, challenges, cases make? I think they are great, just great. Because in this way, well, let's think of our normal, okay, average school classroom, okay, English classroom, yeah. They usually have mixed abilities, right? Some people know more than others, and so on. So by introducing projects, PBL, for example, right? Either project or problem based learning, challenges, cases, right? You bring reality to the classroom, and you have them. Anyone knows about problems and projects, right? And everybody can think together, right? So in this sense, you work with the people who are more fluent, proficient, and the people that are less fluent and proficient. They can work collaboratively in groups, for example, exchange ideas, right? This is a very good way of learning a second language, right? And again, using English as a means of learning, right? Of course, that it is also the object of learning, but the objective. But by introducing projects and project-based learning, for example, problem-based learning, CLIO, right? All this only helps us integrate the classroom, right? And give them real-life English. Yeah? Thank you very much, Maria Carmen. Any other questions? A word about teaching adults, right? By Celia. Well, Celia, the adults, by life definition, right? They have already got lots of their skills, right? Life skills already developed. Some more than others due to faulty education, unfortunately. I would say, why not? You can use multiliteracies with adults in the same way. Of course, that you have to think of something more mature, a topic that are more mature. But I would say, now that I started, that you asked me this question, I started thinking, why not working with storytelling for adults? Maybe they will enjoy talking about, discussing and producing about the Three Little Pigs, but it can be any other, right? It can be about a film, for example. They all have to watch. I don't know. I'm just here throwing out ideas, right? Why not? The best question is why not? I believe that anything can give insight for teaching, right? You just have to design a very good activity for it. That's my opinion. More about this, Elena asks, where can we read more about this? Search for Cope and Calensis, right? The two of the 10 academics of the New London group, right? Yes, it's possible to see the webinar again. Sorry, and what else? Elena Gonçalves, you can also look for Learning by Design online, right? And Pedagogy of Multiliteracies, right? But I would start with Cope and Collins's ideas, right? Yes, you can see this webinar again on Facebook right after this session ends, and later on it will be on YouTube, Gisal channel, right? On YouTube from Gisal. Outside classes, like in nature and museum, that's I'm going to publish. What do you think about outside classes, like in nature, at the museum, etc.? Great, Breno, great. This is experiencing the new, right? But for example, if you take them to into the woods, right, for a day trip, for example, right? Okay, they have been maybe to the woods already, so they are experiencing the new, but you can make them see the new as something, what they know as something new in another perspective. It's another way to see the world. Yes, you're working with multiliteracies. Museums are great. Anything that you can do that brings the real world into the classroom is a lot, is very much, it's alive, it's valuable. Right? I totally go for it if you have the opportunity, right? The problem with this pandemic, we can't go much outside, right? Yeah, but anyway. What time is it? Okay, there's time for more, maybe one. How would you take advantage of time when teaching remotely? Good question. Morena, how would you take advantage of time when teaching remotely? Well, I would take advantage of the time I have, the synchronous classes, to practice more than teaching something. Of course, you have to set some time to teach, right? But for example, I would work with flipped classes, the idea of flipped classes, right? If you have a subject, have them read previously, have them look it up online, right? Get a little bit more familiar with the topic, and then asynchronously, right? And then when it's time for the synchronous class, I would explore it, right? So I would say that the synchronous classes are much more for practicing than for developing something. Of course, that you need time, maybe the first 10, 15 minutes of some classes to teach something new, definitely, right? But I would use the online time by practicing and not asking them to do some exercise in the book, for example, right? And then they are doing the exercise, and you are like there, just looking at them, and sometimes looking at their at the closed cameras, right? So I would use I don't know if I have answered the question, but I think that the online synchronous classes are much more for practicing than for anything else. Maybe another one, just one more. Okay, this one, let's see. Are you familiar with any teacher professional development method or approach? I'm investigating lesson studying for my PhD research. Any comments on that? Don't know lesson study. I'd like to know, actually. Now you have awakened my curiosity. But this thing you're doing here today is PD, is professional development, right? So there's no method or approach. By going and getting interested in just getting interested in professional development already triggers some action, right? You need to go for it, right? I study every day. Every day I pick up something to study, an article to read, right? A webinar that I've missed, if I have time, of course, right? I'm taking a course nowadays. I'm taking a course about bilingualism, right? Bilingual education. It's very nice. So you have to go for it. Nowadays, you don't need to invest if we don't have the conditionals, financial conditionals, because nowadays there are lots of things that are free online, right? So I would say go for it. Go for it and try to find something that would, also the area, find the area that interests you most and that to give you more motivation. But I would say that is the way we can develop professionally. There are some more questions, but I won't be able to answer them because the time is up. People, thank you very much for your time. Right? Really appreciate this time with you. I hope this webinar has brought some insights, some ideas, right? And that's it. That's it. Have a great rest of week, right? Let's get safe, right, and well. Kisses, hugs, and bye-bye. Take care.